Now, the other thing is you probably definitely don't want more fish in this tank, because as the fish are waking up and as they're coming out, there is lots of beautiful fish in this tank, and they've also got lots of growing to do. It's a shame that you didn't measure very well, because you could have fit a much bigger tank. Look at that. You could look at all that room, spare room. You could have got like a much bigger tank. You're not very good at measuring, are you? So when these fish grow out of this tank, you've got plenty of room to get a bigger tank. But the other thing you got to be aware of is that as the fish get bigger, they become less economical with their waste. So bigger fish produce more waste. So just be aware that there are a lot of fish in here and they will grow. Whoa, look at the Mapanga. He's beautiful. Jeepers, that is a spectacular fish. Yeah, keep an eye on him. That's a very good looking fish. Look at that. Yeah, so that's an elongatus Mapanga. And they're like hypo. It's a cool tank, man. Looks really good. So the water quality at the moment, pH is nice and alkaline. Ammonia is almost 0. I don't know if I'm going to say 0. I'll say almost 0. Nitrite is 0. And the nitrate is very low, but definitely not 0. So the nitrate could come down a little bit. I'm definitely not worried about it. Now the phosphate is on the high side. Now I'm not too worried about the phosphate, but some increased water changes, increased gravel cleans, and increased filter cleans is what will help to get the nitrate down. So a bit more water changes. And at the same time, I'm not going to stress about it, because the main problem with phosphate is the phosphate's just going to cause a little bit of extra algae. It's a very smaller problem for the fish. Now the KH is currently at about 3, so I'd rather that be higher, and the GH is 17, so I'd rather that be lower. So when I do a water change today, I will not be adding any GH salts, but I probably will add some carbonates just to raise that up a little bit. So all in all, the water's actually quite good. There's just some very small considerations. Whenever I'm moving rocks from an aquarium, what I'll often do is just put a bit of water in the bottom of the bucket, because sometimes you find catfish in the rocks, and when the catfish jump out, you want to make sure the catfish have got some water. So we've just done a little bit of a rescape. Doing a rescape is a very good idea for your own interest. And also, it's fun watching the behavior of the fish while they're all re-establishing their territories and so forth. But it's very good for the fish, because it's like a whole new world for the fish. So giving them a rearrange is like giving them a whole new world to play around in. Now, this is an excellent canister filter. So to clean this out, the first thing we're going to do is unplug it. Then the second thing we're going to do is switch these taps off. So we just go off and off. Then these will pull out like that. Then we can pull the canister away and open it up by opening these big clips. What's particularly fancy about these Aquael canisters is that whoa, look at that. The pre-filter can be cleaned without having to disengage or clean the whole filter. So you can actually just open this bit up and give this area a clean. At the moment, this is very, very dirty. So in a perfect world, we'd do it more often. So I've opened this up and I've just pulled out this little case, and inside it is a sponge. And this sponge, the way we want to clean anything in this unit, preferably, we want to just drain a bit of water out of the fish tank, and then we just want to wring it out. And you're not trying to get it heaps clean. All you're trying to do is get all the crap out of it so the water can pass through it, because you still want all the good bacteria and stuff in there. After we've opened the big set of clips and we've cleaned the pre-filter, we then can open the small set of clips, and then we can pull the whole top up. So I should be able to pull this up. I'm obviously not with the video in my hand. Every single pump is going to have an impeller. So in this case, the impeller's in here. So we just need to pull this impeller out and give it a clean. Everything that pumps water has an impeller, and every impeller needs cleaning every now and then. So I've just pulled the impeller out of there, and see all this slime? That's what makes the pump stop working so well, because the magnet has trouble magneting through all that slime. So you basically want to give the magnet a clean, but you also want to give inside here, that little hole, a bit of a clean as well. Now the sponge has been cleaned in water from the fish tank. The filter wool is just going to be thrown out, and then we've got some activated carbon, which will tip out. We'll keep the bag, but the carbon after a couple of months, I really don't want to reuse the carbon. Got a bit of high quality filter wool going in there at the moment, but next change I would recommend replacing the activated carbon, and I would definitely add some polyfilter, predominantly due to how many fish are in this tank. These are not things that need to be run all the time, but they definitely improve the situation. So if I've got an option, I'll definitely run polyfilter and activated carbon. Now that I'm putting the canister back in, I put the small clips, put the big clips, put the pre-filter back on. Then I open the in tap, then I open the out tap. And then this is actually a primer, so I did pump on this a couple of times, and then that got it primed. And what priming means is it's filling up with water. So when you hear it filling up, and then eventually we'll see a tiny bit of water come out of here, or it'll at least go up that line. And once that's full of water, we can then turn it on. We don't want to turn that on until it's full of water. So that's clean now, and I'm still happy to take a little bit more water out, because I don't want to take out much more than a quarter, especially seeing it's fairly cool in Sydney now. So we don't want to go doing bigger water changes. If you need to do a bigger water change, you need to either preheat the water or just do it in summer. Now I'm just doing a gravel clean. So I'm going through and trying to make sure that I get as much crap out of the gravel as possible, particularly because we gave the tank a bit of a mini rearrange. And when you're doing this, always make sure that you're also watching your bucket, because it's really easy to overflow it. It's never as fun as you think. So that should be enough. Typically when I do a service, some services I focus on the gravel and some services I focus on the filter. Particularly if I'm doing a rearrange in the tank, then normally I won't do the filter that week. I'll just worry about doing the gravel, because I don't want to remove too much water. It's much better to change a little bit regularly than go changing too much at once. Otherwise you can shock the fish, and then you can lose them. They can end up getting sick and getting diseases and all sorts of stuff. So with these fish, I would also like to see some Denichi color, because I think we could get the color a little bit better. So the food quality is really, really good, but I do want a bit more food. And the next food that I'd want to buy for this tank would be Denichi color. And I would also like some Spectrum wafer. It's good to rotate your decorations. And when you do rotate them, if there's one that you're not using, what I'd recommend doing is throwing it in the sun for a day. Let the sun dry up any algae that's on it, then turn it over, leave it in the sun for a day. Then you can retire it for a little while, because after a while it's good to have a rotation of things that you use in the aquarium to basically keep you and the fish entertained. We're topping up the water because it's evaporated. We need to use water ager to take the chlorine and so forth out of the water. And if you're treating the water, not the bucket, you need to treat the volume of the water. So in this case, I'd let it fill up about 5 centimeters. I'd treat it, let it fill up 5 centimeters and treat it. And today we're not going to add any GH, because the GH of this water was a little bit on the high side, but we are going to add a little bit of KH, because the KH was a little bit low. So we're going to add a little bit of KH. And in a perfect world, I'd want that rechecked. So the idea is add a little bit of KH, see how that buffs it up. Then if need be, just add a little bit again. It's better to add a small amount and later on add a small amount than to go and smash in too much and then find that you've overdosed it. And then suddenly you have to do water changes to get it down.